All right, go for it.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Jeremiah Quinlan. I'm the Dean of Undergraduate Admissions and Financial Aid at Yale. Welcome back to my home here in Connecticut. If you joined for the previous Ask Me Anything earlier this month, it is my pleasure to talk to you all again. And I had such a great time a few weeks ago that we decided to schedule another one of these towards the end of the month to continue to answer your questions. And this time I brought along three of my fabulous colleagues. I'm gonna have them introduce themselves in a minute. And we are gonna do some fun sharing of different parts of your application. One of my favorite parts of Traditions of April in the admissions office is reading out some of my favorite short take answers to the applications. And I have brought some of my colleagues along to help with sharing some of that incredible content. So before we dive in, share some of those great answers and answer questions, I wanted to have everyone introduce themselves. If we could start with Deb, that would be fabulous. And I would love everyone to just say sort of obviously your name, your admissions territory, how long you have been doing admissions, how long you have been at Yale, some other office responsibilities that you have, and your favorite 30 Bulldog Days of April event. Now that we are coming to the end of this historic month, we have done some incredible content. I hope you have all enjoyed those evenings and those days and those sessions. And I just want to make sure that you, everyone here, can share some of their favorite moments for the past month. Because even though it has not been the same as it has been past Aprils, there have been some really, really amazing high points. All right, Deb, why don't you go first, introduce yourself, and then we'll have John introduce, and then Maura.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Jeremiah. Hi, everybody. My name is Deb Johns, Associate Director of Admissions here at Yale. My territory is Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Western Massachusetts, and then Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the state of Washington. I have been with the office. I'm in my 12th year at Yale. I have worked on a college campus for 36 years. I also have the honor of being the mother of 2 college-age kids. So if any of you guys have questions, I'm more than happy to answer those. My son is a first-year student and my daughter is a junior in college. And within the office, in addition to reading applications and covering an area, I'm responsible for hospitality within the office. I work closely, I'm the liaison with the ROTC, the NROTC office, and the Air Force ROTC office, and I work very closely with the Native American Cultural Center, in addition to other things as assigned. I would say, boy, you know, every day I have a new favorite in terms of the 30 Bulldog Days of April. I would have to say I was really impressed last night with the class of 2024's Got Talent. It was pretty impressive, all the different talent out there, and the young man who shared with us his prowess with both acting and Greek may be my absolute highlight. So thank you, and thanks for, I can't wait to be a part of this.
Yeah, you guys made history last night with the first April virtual talent show. So the class of 2024, you guys are already making Yale history, and you should be really proud of that. All right, John.
Hi, everyone. My name is John Yee. I'm an Associate Director of Undergraduate Admission here at Yale. I was Yale class of 2013. And I've been basically working in admissions ever since, and it's been a wonderful 7 years so far. I'm actually joining you here tonight from inside Ezra Stiles College, where I live as a resident fellow. This is one of the 14 residential colleges here on our campus. Although it is quite different without the energy and the excitement of our students, we're really looking forward to having all that energy come back soon. My admissions areas are kind of far-flung. I cover a little bit of Western Los Angeles, our neighbors up north in Canada, and then all of East and Southeast Asia. So I have the privilege of reading a lot of different perspectives and narratives from all around the world. Other office responsibilities that I have here, I work very closely with Deb on the hospitality team, such a joy of mine. I get to oversee our tour guide program alongside the director of the visitor center. I'm also involved in our office's athletic kind of liaising work with some of the programs here. getting really involved with the April admitted student program is a joy of mine too. And a fun little thing that I do in the office is some graphic design work. So I get to flex my graphic design muscles for some of my colleagues, which is great. Deb stole my favorite Bulldog Days event. I was watching last night, and my cheeks are sore from basically smiling all night. So I will actually have to say an event that happened today, which was Shelley Kagan's masterclass, his philosophy masterclass. And as remarkable as Dr. Kagan is, I was so impressed and wowed by the comments that the admitted students were making in the Zoom chat. It's just a nice reminder of how thoughtful and brilliant all of our admitted students are.
Cool. Yeah, Professor Kagan is really he's an amazing professor. So I hope a lot of people really enjoyed that session this afternoon. All right, Maura.
Hi, everyone, and hi, class of 2024. My name is Maura Poe, not Moira. I know it's spelled Moira like Moira Rose, but it rhymes with Laura. This is my 7th year in the office. Fun fact, John and I started the same year, same cohort. This is my 14th year in admissions, 7th year at Yale, and my roles in the office, I'm Director of Multicultural Recruitment. So in that role, I liaise with the 4 incredible cultural centers that we have on campus. We're so fortunate that we have standalone cultural centers that are hubs and homes for so many people, but they are welcoming to so many people as well. I also am a part of the Eli Whitney Students Program. So perhaps you've heard of our program that brings some non-traditional students to campus, and they're a part of the Yale College community too. I'm an athletic liaison, and I have the fortune of being the Illinois admissions officer. So if you are from Illinois, and I see some of you out there, I am the person who would have met you at an admitted student program, but hopefully I'll just get to meet you at move-in day instead. So thrilled that you're all here and can't wait to welcome you.
Great. Well, I think actually Maura and John, you guys started the year that I became dean too. So we
look at this
shared all
cohort,
of that, which is fabulous. Great. Yes, 7 years. Wow, amazing. Anyway, great. Well, I am so glad you guys are joining me tonight. And just to get you working right away, let's dive right into some of the great content that actually you, class of 2024, provided. As you heard me talk about earlier this month, I love my job in admissions and feel like it's a real honor to bring together this incredible class of talented, aspirational students with so many different backgrounds and capacities and talents. And we look to admit students who embrace the spirit of community and collaboration that makes Yale so unique and pretty unique amongst our peer institutions. Yale, as I think I said a month ago, is a place where we value character and where intellectually rigorous scholars are also very emotionally intelligent and engaged citizens. Your job as applicants, as we are crafting that class, was to show me and my colleagues and the rest of the admissions committee that you would embrace the Yale spirit and contribute uniquely to our committee. And when you filled out your application, you may remember responding to a question that asked, why Yale? And over the past few weeks, we actually took some time to go back and look at some of the answers of our admitted students. And if you don't mind, we'd like to share right now, anonymously, of course, a few choice excerpts from your responses to why Yale. And I think you'll see that these responses really demonstrate what makes Yale and you, the class of 2024, so special. So Deb, why don't you share some of our favorite why Yale answers while we have everyone paying attention.
Sure. So just remember, the question is, why Yale? I'm not ashamed to say that pizza was one of the first things that drew me to Yale. Yale is never A, B, or C. It is all of the above. A courageous choice that I have grown to cherish. Now I hope to embrace this lifestyle for 4 years to come. The font. Meandering through old campus between debates, I felt oddly moved by the sublime white serif punctuating every placard. Yale is about the details. Only as a Bulldog could I take a class dedicated to the color blue or scrutinize Debussy's original markings in Beinecke's Coke collection. Yale's ubiquitous lettering also silently unites the school, through collective aesthetic in collective spirit. At Yale, community isn't distinct from academics. It's etched beautifully into every interdisciplinary pursuit. I'd appreciate the authorization to download Yale's font, but it's Yale's uplifting human community, which I truly treasure. I need a place where I will always be met with a counter argument. Yale's commitment to intellectual diversity, as well as its maintenance of collaborative values, ensures that I will always have a space to challenge and develop my beliefs. Handsome Dan, all right. Seeing him at football games is only one of the many reasons why I applied to Yale.
Handsome Dan is every year. Handsome Dan is a great answer. Let me tell you, he is a great answer. And just to clarify, Yale does have a font. That applicant did know that Yale has a font, and we are very strongly encouraged to use the Yale font. And the good thing is, it's a very attractive font. John, would you say it's an attractive font, the Yale font? Yeah.
I use it both for work and for personal reasons.
Well, good. Thanks, Deb. Those are some of the reasons you all chose to apply, and you're going to have lots of opportunities while you're on campus to learn more about what makes Yale so special. So next, we want to talk a little about all of you. You may also remember that in your applications, you were asked to answer a series of short answer questions that demanded just a few words in response. When asked what Yale College course you would want to teach, your responses varied from the practical to the intellectual to the downright absurd. So John, I know the committee loves looking at the answer to this question when we're making our decisions. Would you share some of the highlights of the Yale courses that our incoming class of 2024 would like to teach?
Definitely. And for the record, I'm going to read 5 of them, and I would have taken all 5 of these if they were you. Women's Gender and Sexuality Studies 120. That's what she did. A study of how women of color have blazed trails in STEM. Modern Rap, from Compton to Cardi. Renegotiating Reddit, testing Twitter, and facing Facebook. Democratizing information and truth in the digital age. Course description. An examination of the ways in which social media and the internet have incontrovertibly transformed the ways in which we discuss politics, society, knowledge, and reality. The heat is on. From Sriracha to Serranos. An interdisciplinary investigation for those with a burning desire to explore the historical, cultural, and migratory significance of hot sauce. That was a personal favorite for sure. And then finally, do not register for this class. A course on reverse psychology.
That's good. That's a good one. I would definitely take that course, let me tell you. Very useful as a dean of admissions too, if I could have taken that course, let me tell you. I did take introductory psychology my first year at Yale with current president Peter Salve, which is still a great claim to fame. Maybe not as good as the reverse psychology course. So that would be really interesting. I agree, John. I would have taken many of those courses. But as you know, Yale isn't just about the classroom. The Yaleys that you're going to get to know very well over the next 4 years in your residential colleges and your suites are going to represent so many different backgrounds and interests and aspirations. So we also like to ask on the application, what would you contribute to your Yale College suite? Many of you volunteered yourself as your suite parent, always looking out for others. Plenty of you come ready to share your Netflix passwords, never more valuable than in the last few weeks. Some promised late night jam sessions, other copious amounts of baked goods. Baked goods are good, especially after some New Haven pizza. And many of you warned of your supply of cringe-worthy puns. But some of you even went beyond those creative and thoughtful and hilarious responses and took things to the next level. So Maura, would you like to share some other choice responses to the question about being a good Yale College suite mate?
Absolutely. And I have to say, I am known for loving the puns. I find them to be punderful as I'm reading. See what I did there. But some of your contributions. I'm obsessed with voice activation. If all goes as planned, nobody in our suite will have to lift a finger to get snacks or turn the lights off. I hope they'll share my love for popcorn, hugs, or elbow bumps now, and tinkering. Together, we can swap blueprints and build a dorm that puts Hogwarts to shame. Another contribution? 3 cups of coffee to go, please. I despise the stuff, but my roommates don't, and they each have a midterm tomorrow. 2 days later, I find a hot chocolate waiting for me on my desk. It's my turn.
That's so sweet.
5 home movies, 4 flash mobs, 3 rascally brothers, 2 kitchen fires, and 1 madcap imagination have engendered a seasoned troubadour. No person is safe from my arsenal of anecdotes and dramatizations, not even my sweetmates. I only ask that they too share an abundance of childhood tales. I will always have my ukulele and an open door so that sweetmates can jam with me on their tough days. Besides sharing in my desire to form the best band on our floor, I hope that my roomies are welcoming and eager to include me in their own valued traditions. And finally, I'll be their loudest cheerleader at games and performances, so loud it's embarrassing. And at my concerts or debate competitions, I hope they will be mine.
Maura, I think that is a good one for you to have, because as we know, Maura is an excellent cheerleader. There is no one on staff who is a better cheerleader than Maura Poe.
I will be there to cheer you on at your shows, y'all.
Well, that was great. Thank you guys so much for sharing. Thank you, class of 2024, for keeping us entertained day after day in the committee room. We do eat a lot of snacks in the committee room. I think there was a lot of positive feedback when I shared last AMA that I like pretzels the most in the committee room. But I need that member of the class of 2024 to come talk to me when he's here or she is here on campus. And I want to definitely get that sort of voice activated snack delivery system for the admissions committee room next year. That would be so good. Probably not helpful for my waistline, but very, very good. Anyway, Maura, I know that you also wanted to share your favorite Bulldog Days moment before we start taking questions.
Gosh, I can't.
I am. This is one of my favorite things going on right now too.
And there were so many amazing moments, but the one that's really emerged is how the class of 2024 banner has become electronic. It's something that we usually do outside Dwight Hall. And the fact that one of our graduating computer science seniors figured out how to do it so it would work. But I've gotten so much joy seeing a few names on there. Like I saw you, Sam Brody. I saw you, Elizabeth Welch-Janney. It's just amazing to see so many of your names on there already.
I think that is such a cool thing that we are doing, and a great way for us to kind of continue the traditions in this unusual time. So great. Well, thank you guys. It's great to hear from you and about you all. But now, of course, we're here for the next 40 minutes answering your questions. And we did have a form where folks could fill out questions beforehand. And there were some very themes that emerged pretty quickly. So we're going to answer both questions that were submitted before and live questions. So we do have a group of people behind the scenes scouring the question feed. So please send us your questions and we'll try to take them live. I'll try to pass them around between Deb, John, and Maura, and we'll go from there. All right, let's get into it. Ready, team? All right, awesome. Okay, Liam asks, let's see, what is Liam asking? Liam asks, how will the deferment process for a gap year work if I choose to accept for the fall now and change my mind later? Okay, great. This is a good question, and leads to some other questions and some bigger topics. I'll start very process oriented first, and then we can talk big picture a little bit later. Process is basically the same as it has been in previous years. Students will get their form online in your portal, the same portal where they had the Bulldogs dancing and the Whiff and Poof sang the song. And you can either choose to accept your offer in the class of this year, which is basically matriculate for the fall of 2020, or you can postpone your matriculation to the fall of 2021. And students have that option and can do that. The way that this works after Friday, after May 1st, after the deadline, is that folks will have to email their area admissions officer or someone in the admissions office to reset their form. So you're going to make your decision to hopefully either matriculate or postpone May 1st. If you choose to go somewhere else, have a wonderful graduate experience. I'm sure you have lots of great options. But if you do want to change your mind after May 1st, you email us, and then we will reset your form and allow you to change your decision. And we do that on a case-by-case basis. I sent a message out on Monday that obviously this is an unusual time for students to be planning for the future because so much is up in the air, and typically gap year programs that might be running or not running. There's still some details that obviously need to be worked out about the fall semester here in New Haven, which I'm happy to talk about in a little bit. So we are going to basically ask students to make the best decision they can before Friday. And then after that, be as understanding and flexible as possible as choices change. I will, however, say, and I hope this was clear in my message on Monday, that I do think the best option for students who truly do not have a great sense of whether or not they want to come this fall or next fall is to choose to matriculate now so that you are basically securing your class for this fall. And then when the university announces its plans for this coming semester, we will definitely be open for students to change their mind and to postpone their matriculation to the following fall. It is for reasons that we could go into, but for us to consider our candidates on the wait list. It is easier for us to manage enrollment if you tell us that you really want to come this fall and that's your time. And then you can obviously change your mind over the next few months. More information is available. Then if you postpone, say you are definitely coming next fall, and then you want to try and come this fall, I think because we may make different decisions based on the waitlist about that, it's best for you to matriculate first. It may be that if you email us and suggest that you want to change your mind from enrolling this fall to next fall, or from enrolling next fall to this fall, we will not be able to get back to you right away. That we may have to tell you that we're going to take a little time to process these requests, to see what the volume of requests are at the moment before we allow everyone to change their mind. This is only because we are trying to get a handle of student decision making and student processes, and there's a lot of unknowns this year. But I think you can be assured that we are not interested in having students on campus if they do not want to be here based on what's available in the fall. And so we're going to be doing everything we can to be as accommodating as possible for students and the decisions that you and your families can make for us. I hope that was a helpful question. I'm sure there's probably questions on top of that. I'll answer. If there's more questions on top of that, please let me know. But again, we will be up to a certain point in the summer allowing students to change their mind, and we're going to be very clear in our communication with you as information is unveiled. And we obviously understand that there's many unknowns, and as those unknowns become knowns, we will obviously be communicating you and then giving you the time you need to make decisions based on the new information that's there. Similar question, Lucy asks, will we have a secured spot in the class of 2025 if we choose to postpone our admittance to Yale on the reply form? The answer to this is yes. If you choose to postpone your matriculation, you will have a secured spot in next year's class, the class that is enrolling in the fall of 2021. So everyone who's admitted to Yale has the choice of securing a spot in the class showing up in fall 2020 or the class showing up in fall 2021. And if you do end up postponing, you are secured a spot. There's a little paperwork that we're going to send you throughout the year, but you do not need to reapply. You just need to make sure you fill out the paperwork, tell us how you're spending your time, and you actually get readmitted in the following year as well. You do not have to go through the admissions process again. Lucy asked, will we have to go through the admissions process again? Will we have to reapply for financial aid? Yes. So while you do not have to reapply for admission, you do have to reapply for financial aid if you postpone your admittance, because the financial aid process changes every year and uses hopefully a new set of tax returns every year. So you can use your current financial aid package as a guidepost to understand that that will look more or less like your aid package the following year. But we do ask students to reapply for financial aid because obviously a lot can change in a student's and family's financial picture in a year, and Yale might have a different cost of attendance. And so those things need to be recalculated next year. Every Yale student, regardless of if you are a first year, a second year, or a third year, has to reapply for financial aid every single year because of that reason. So reapplying for aid is something you will be doing every year, unless you are an international student. International students are repackaged using the same information because of the complexities of international aid awards, unless they want to reapply, and then they can tell us that, and then they can reapply. The federal government also, just for the record, requires that American citizens who are receiving federal aid reapply for aid every single year. can we postpone our attendance just one semester rather than the whole year? No. Right now, the options available to admitted students are to start this fall or to start next fall. Those are the choices that you have, and are the choices moving forward. If that changes, we will certainly be in touch. But right now, you should think about whether or not you want to start this fall or next fall as the two options in front of you. Was that clear, team? Is that clear? Okay, great. Costanza asked, what are your options? What options are you considering for next year? We have all of our finger crossed to be able to live our Yale experience to the fullest. We do too, let me tell you. We have all of our fingers crossed, our toes crossed, everything crossed that we possibly can. And we are planning really, really, really thoroughly and hard to make that a reality. The number one priority through all of the university's decision making, as I said, is about safety and health of students and faculty and staff. And that's the sort of number one priority. But I would say the second priority is getting campus reopened and getting students, faculty, and staff back on campus as soon as the public health situation dictates it. President Salve has said this. I am not on one of the 8 different planning committees at the university that is working to make this happen, but I have been in touch with several of them as they are working on their plans. And I can tell you that there are hundreds of people on campus, faculty and staff, working to make contingency plans for next year. We are committed, if at all possible, to reopening campus in the fall. I don't think online education is the preferred form of delivery for anybody. And I think one of the things that we're really trying to plan for is a lot of flexibility. There might be some changes to the academic calendar. There might be some changes to the duration of Yale courses. You could imagine a very modular academic calendar. You can imagine a academic calendar that allows for students to take more concentrated courses in shorter amounts of time in half semesters for the same amount of Yale credit. You can imagine if students cannot make it to campus for visa issues or for transportation issues. You know, right now we do have international students who are waiting for their consulates in their countries to open to get visas to come to the US. You can imagine them starting courses in some sort of online version so that as soon as they can get to the country, they can come to campus and start in person. So you might be seeing hybrid instruction so that as many Yale students can participate as fully as possible. You might be seeing modifications to the fall. I mean, I think the general thing you should think about is the fall semester is most likely not going to look like what the fall semester looked like last fall, but it might look like something slightly different, interesting, opportunity, and we'll hopefully all be in New Haven together enjoying that semester, or folks will be getting here as soon as they possibly can to join that experience, whether it's for visa issues or for health issues. There might be a more modular approach to that. And the university is considering lots of different options. And there's a public health committee, there's an academic contingency committee, there's an extracurricular activities contingency committee. There's a lot of balls in the air. And the university really does hope to have an answer out to people about the recommendations of these committees and about a decision for the fall semester in mid-June. Which will then, I know, allow many of you to make decisions based on what's available. But I do think that what we can offer students and what we will be able to offer students if the public health situation continues to progress as it is here in Connecticut will be appealing and attractive, and will involve the reopening of campus, the reopening of the residential colleges, the reopening of the academic experience in the sort of incredibly exciting ways that Yale has been doing for 300 years. Anna asked, I was wondering if you could talk a bit about the residential college systeming and the housing rooming process. Okay, good. That I can pass to one of my colleagues. If you do have any follow-up questions about some of that, let me know. And we can get back to that topic during the chat because I understand that it's at the top of mind for people right now. But let's talk about the residential college system and the housing rooming process. So, John, since you are beaming in from Styles, could you tell us a little about the residential college system and the housing and rooming process?
Sure. Well, I imagine that many of you are very, very familiar with the residential college system, that being a reason why many students are interested in joining us here at Yale in the first place. The kind of too long didn't read version of the residential college system is essentially, we feel that fostering community, we feel that nurturing your social and emotional growth is as important as stimulating you from an academic and intellectual perspective. So what we do is we randomly subdivide all of our undergraduate students into 14 smaller residential communities that have about 450 or 500 students or so in each one, so that from the very first point of entry, when you arrive on campus for the first time, through your entire trajectory at Yale, you have this built-in community of fellow students, of fellow first years, of faculty members and administrators that are there working with you and with one another to craft a community, right? Now, the magic of this process is that the colleges are randomly assigned so that there's no engineers college, there's no international students college, there's no a cappella singing college, because if there was one, I would have been in it. It would have been a very loud and annoying college. Instead, you have the full breadth and depth of Yale's diversity within each of these 14 smaller versions of Yale, right? Now, because each of the colleges are essentially the same, the housing and rooming process is also the same within each one, right? So when you first arrive as a first year, ahead of time, what you'll have done is you'll have filled out a housing form that essentially gives your residential college team, one of the administrators that leads the college, a sense of what your rooming preferences are like, right? There's a lot of different preferences that our students have, and we really want to make sure that those are taken into account. And so using those forms, your residential college deans will form rooming configurations, not with your doppelganger or someone that's exactly like you, but a group of students with whom you will live really happily and successfully with. After your first year on campus, you actually have the opportunity to choose your own roommates within your residential college, and you enter a process called housing draw, where essentially you decide what kind of configuration you'd like to room in, and then there's a process by which rooms within the college proper are assigned. Now, I think one of the benefits of the residential college system is that you have built-in structures to not only guide you throughout your time at Yale over the course of 4 years, but specifically to manage the sometimes stressful process of housing and rooming, right? There's a organization in each college called HOCO, or Housing Committee. So it's a team of students within each residential college that actually volunteers to manage this process alongside the dean. So hopefully that gives you a sense of how the residential college system interacts with housing and rooming here. I think we do a really great job of understanding students' individual preferences and making sure that they are living in an environment that they are first and foremost comfortable in, but second of all, feeling really stimulated by and excited by.
Great. Thanks, John. Fun fact, Maura was actually the person in our office for several years who was the sorting hat in Harry Potter. She was responsible for working through the residential college assignments. So, so that's a lot of power, Maura. We got a question from Sophia. What are your favorite places in New Haven to visit? Maura, do you want to take this one? What are some of your favorite places?
Absolutely. And I don't know
you've lived in several neighborhoods in New Haven over the course.
I have, and I don't know if you can see behind me, but that's actually downtown New Haven right behind me too. I get to walk right to work, walk to Old Campus. It's amazing how the university blends into the city and the city just blends into the university. It's very much not the kind of place where there are fences or gates around, this is Yale, this is not Yale. So you can just walk around New Haven and see history, because New Haven is a pretty old city as well. You can see many parts of Yale too, but you can walk a couple of blocks and have nothing to do with Yale wherever you go. So some of my favorite places, East Rock Park. It's only about a 15-minute walk from downtown. And once you cross over this little bridge and this gorgeous river, you're suddenly in the middle of the woods. And I say this as someone who lived for 3 years in the middle of the Catskill Mountains. It feels like there are hiking and biking trails there that kind of rival some of the trails that I would see in the Catskills. And it's incredible that you can get there so easily just by walking from campus. I also like a neighborhood called Worcester Square, which is known as New Haven's Little Italy. So yes, that's where you'll see Frank Pepe's, you'll go to Sally's Pizza, but you can also go to the Cherry Blossom Festival that, if I can get up this virtual background, would have looked like this 2
nice.
weeks ago. And it's been about, I think it's 40-something years old, the Cherry Blossom Festival, where over 10,000 people come together to celebrate this gorgeous collection of cherry blossoms and this historic neighborhood as well. Again, a quick walk from campus. But my favorite part, and maybe it's because I'm not there every day now, I love just walking through campus. I love just walking, whether it's the intersection of College and Wall, where it's just a hubbub of activity of Yale College students, Yale School of Music students with massive cellos and double basses that they're carrying. You see administrators because the president's office isn't far from there. It's amazing to walk through. And there are days where I may look like a goofball because I stop and take it all in, and I look at, all the activity, I look at the trees, I look at the buildings, and it just feels like home. It just feels like an amazing place to be. And you'll hear students even say that sometimes, like, wow, I knew how beautiful it was, but sometimes you just need to stop and see how beautiful it is. I'm feeling a little nostalgic because I don't get to walk to campus every day right now, but I'm looking at it from afar.
Hopefully soon, hopefully soon. All right, great. Another, thank you, Maura. Another question we got from YouTube. How long does it normally take for a new application for financial aid to be processed and returned to a student? Right now, not long at all. If you are actually an admitted student and you apply, we're usually turning things around in about 48 hours. And over the summer, it might take slightly longer. So if you've committed to Yale and you are still interested in applying for financial aid, the deadline is not May 1st. You can certainly apply throughout the summer. And then I would say usually about a week, about 1 week to turn it around and get people packaged and get some information. Our financial aid office is actually currently accepting Zoom appointments. And I would actually recommend you go to the undergraduate financial aid website, schedule a Zoom appointment, and they'll be able to talk to you through that process. The next question is from Madeline. What would be involved in starting a rock band at Yale? Very cool question. Are there places to keep equipment, amps, drums, and practice? And then Hannah asks, what would you say is one trait all Yaleys have in common? So Deb, do you want to answer one of those questions or both? And starting a rock band sounds like a really awesome idea. There's, go ahead.
It does. I was thinking, I might let the person living in Ezra Stiles that has talk about where to store all these really cool instruments. But we at the beginning of the year, there's this thing called the extracurricular bazaar that you can go to. It's like the first weekend or so. And that's one of the ways you probably experienced some of that during the 30 Bulldog days, because if you were able to be part of the 1 minute, 113 minutes of clubs and organizations, you probably heard a little bit about what you could do at Yale. But when you get into this particular forum, think about that times 200 or more. And I'm sure that it's as easy as, finding other people who have interests like yours in music. It could be rock band, it could be alternative music, it could be jazz, it could be, opera. We heard our beautiful opera singer last night. And so there's lots of ways that you can connect with any type of music. Part of it might be through formal, the activities that we will share with you and have for you in terms of your first year at Yale, but most of it will be really informal, people that you'll meet and you'll find that you have common interests and that you'll say, oh yeah, I was part of a rock band. Oh, I was part of a rock band. I've definitely, in my 12 years at Yale, I have had more than one student who's attended that later on in the time that I've heard we've met up for coffee, they've said, oh yeah, we started this really cool band and we play in the common spaces and we're involved down at the Buttery and we're able to do different things. And I've seen bands outside of the, Yale University Art Gallery play. And so there's lots of different places and spaces in terms of being involved, especially in music. Like music, you could play an instrument, you could sing, you could perform 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year at Yale, and it would be really easy to do. That final question, Jeremiah, remind me again what it was.
What would you say is one trait all Yaleys have in common? That's not an easy question to answer, actually.
One trait.
Maura, John, do you want to?
Well, I would say first, and I'm sure all of us will have a different answer, is I think Yaleys trait is open-mindedness. I really, really love, and I've worked on 6 different college campuses during my career. So I've seen a few college students, and I've been so impressed by how open-minded Yaleys are to the possibilities in front of them. And I just really have loved that trait an awful lot.
Great.
Another one I would add, and it ties into what Deb said, the spirit of and. There's a reason why you see it in a lot of our brochures, but you know this, students aren't an engineer or a musician or on the varsity basketball team. A student might be a musician who is a mechanical engineer, who's also on the varsity basketball team, and then sings on the side. And that's something that I really enjoy here. And when students say, well, can I do this and this? Well, sure. We also want you to sleep, so I don't want you to think you can do everything on campus, but the spirit of and is alive and well here.
I would say Yaleys have a fundamental understanding of the fact that for you to succeed, other people don't have to fail. Students here have so many different talents and interests and come from so many different backgrounds. But all of them regularly and often and willingly practice the very inconvenient practice of genuinely caring about other people. And it's something that I think brings all of us such joy in the admission process, because we know we're welcoming these students into this community where whatever their background, whatever their interest, people are going to make time for them. They're going to show up. They're going to support you and obviously pursue their own goals at the same time. But last night during the Admitted Student Talent Show, just seeing all of these admitted students feeling so proud of their future classmates was such a nice kind of crystallization of that trait that I think all Yaleys share.
Cool. Thank you, guys. That's great. And such different traits to share. That's really fabulous. Eileen asks, when and how would one apply for work-study positions in the fall? John, do you want to take that one about applying for work-study positions?
Sure. So campus employment is a wonderful part of the Yale undergraduate experience. And I think that a lot of our students, whether they are working on campus for work study or not, have the option to apply for jobs here. Now, minimum wage here on campus, I believe, is $12.75, and that's minimum wage here. So students are working all different kinds of jobs, and students can get jobs on campus as early as their first semester, right? People are working in libraries, people are assisting professors. We have a lot of students that work for our office as tour guides and so on and so forth. Each of the residential colleges have student employees that help contribute to the life of the undergraduates from a residential standpoint. So you would simply arrive here as a student and then decide that you're going to apply for jobs. And there are so many jobs available to students. So it's not really a matter of whether you'll get one. It's kind of more a concern of which one you'll choose to do.
Great, thank you. Sean asks, what is course selection like? Deb, do you want to take course selection at Yale?
Sure, thanks, Jeremiah. So that's called shopping period. And it's not going into New Haven and finding your favorite thing to buy. It's actually shopping for classes in the first 10 days of each semester. And what you do is, as a first year student, you will be able to view what we used to call, or we still do call, the Blue Book. But the Blue Book is now electronic. And there are 2,000 classes. You cannot take 2,000 classes a semester. You can only take 4, hopefully 4 your first semester, 5 your second semester. And what you will do is you'll look through the Blue Book and you'll start talking with people and you'll get a feel for what you might want to take. And in the first 10 days that you're at Yale, you will actually observe classes. You don't register for classes until that end of shopping period. And so you get a chance to observe as few as 4, as many as I'm not going to say, because I don't want you to do that many shopping classes, but there have been crazy people who have shopped more than 15 classes in a semester. I would not recommend that. 6 to 8 I think that's a nice number to shop. And so you can be in the class the full time, you can be in the class for 15 minutes, you can observe. You are still responsible for the work that is conducted within the class. And then what's so lovely, rather than just choosing a class for after reading 3 sentences, that's part of that blue book, you get to actually see the syllabus, listen to your professor, see who else is going to be in the class. And at the end of those 10 days, you have decided on, you've registered for absolutely classes you want to be in that makes sense for you in terms of what they're about, the timing, everything. And it's just, it's lovely. Our students love shopping. Our professors love it a little less.
Maura, another important person to help you through shopping period is your advisor. I think it'd be worth talking a little bit about that too. Do you want to go ahead?
Absolutely, because we don't want you to think that you have to pick your classes alone. There are a lot of different people here to help you through shopping period and even pre-shopping period. So the residential college dean is ultimately responsible for the academic well-being of every person in that residential college. They're the final signature on every schedule for first-year students, for students who are about to graduate. But for first years, you also have your first-year counselor, who is a senior who's gone through extensive training, who's gone through the experience that will help you and your suite mates and your FROCO group think about things like, well, how should we even think about shopping? What kinds of classes should we think about? How do we expand beyond what I just kind of assumed I would take? Every first-year student also then has a first-year advisor. And I want to talk about this because I'm a first-year advisor in Ezra Stiles College, the college that John lives in as well. And that first-year advisor can be someone, another professor, it could be faculty, staff, just someone who's affiliated with your college and is there as a sounding board, someone to bounce ideas off of about, well, I'm thinking about these 2 language classes. Which one do you recommend? And the advisor might say, well, go try both of them out. Have you thought about talking to the professors? The first-year advisor can also help remind you about things like placement exams, the different resources that are here on campus. There are workshops through, say, the Poorvu Center for Teaching and Learning. And the first-year advisor is another person that ultimately will sign off on your schedule, but they will meet with you throughout shopping period. So as you are shopping, you kind of have a personal shopper there. I don't know if everyone would like me calling it that, but you're not going to have to think about this alone. You will have people there to guide you and help think through, how do I navigate narrowing possibly 2,000 course choices to a manageable 4 to 5.
Thanks, Maura. I know John and Maura advise in Stiles. I advise in Franklin College. And Deb, what are you? What college are you a fellow of, Deb?
I am a fellow of Pauli Murray.
Oh, so Pauli Murray and Franklin are right close to the admissions office, the new colleges, amazing dining hall. Although I still think the Morrison Stiles dining hall is the best on campus. I was in Morris as an undergraduate, so I am partial. Anyway, a couple financial aid questions I wanted to take. Kevin asks, how do merit scholarships, outside merit scholarships, impact your financial aid offer? The answer is they can be very helpful in reducing the student share aspect of your financial aid, or the student expectation in fulfilling part of their cost of attendance. So when Yale creates a financial aid award, it assumes that a student can contribute to their education a certain amount of money based on working on campus, as we just described, talking about student jobs and working over the summer. We've got lots of different mechanisms in place to help alleviate that burden if students are going abroad over the summer or taking a nonprofit internship over the summer. But there's a certain student share expectation. And it depends on what year at Yale you are and what level of financial aid you receive as to what that student share amount is. But any outside merit scholarship you receive goes to immediately reduce that student share, so that you will probably have reimbursement on your account when you show up at Yale. It means that your bill might be reduced for certain students. It also might mean that Yale will reimburse you for your unbilled expenses like books and laundry and pizza and great New Haven pizzerias. If you do receive outside merit aid above and your student share, then it does reduce your grant aid for dollar for dollar. So you should talk to the financial aid office about whether or not it makes sense to have a merit scholarship at all come in 1 year or multiple years. Definitely let us know about the merit scholarship, because that will change your financial aid, and for several $1,000s will allow that to come directly to your pocket as a Yale student for your indirect expenses and your unbilled expenses. The second question, a little longer, but a very important one, is will cost of attendance significantly increase as a result of this pandemic? Will the amount of financial aid decrease as well? For low-income students like myself, will net costs prohibit me from attending a second year? For my current billed expenses, so billed expenses are tuition, room and board, how much of an increase can be expected? Lots of important stuff here. So the first thing I will say is cost of attendance is not going to significantly increase for students on aid as a result of this pandemic. Financial aid policies that students show up to their year at Yale usually continue with them through the course of 4 years. And for students who are receiving financial aid, any change in the cost of attendance is usually covered by an increase in financial aid. So, because what the university does is it considers what your family can contribute to your education by coming up with a parent share amount and a student share amount. And that is based on a student and family's income and assets. Those are the driving pieces that will change those amounts. An increase of cost of attendance, if the parent share and student share remain the same, is covered completely by a Yale grant. It is true that Yale's tuition has gone up on average between 2% and 4% every year for the past several years. But for students on aid, almost all that is covered by financial aid because of the mechanisms of how financial aid works. So if you are looking at a financial aid package right now and you're feeling that this is what your aid package looks for your first year, chances of it changing dramatically in the coming years is not high unless your personal circumstances change. Now, your personal circumstances may change. Families may get new jobs. Unfortunately, because of the recent pandemic, family circumstances might change negatively, in which case your financial aid award will change year after year to reflect those new realities. But a change in cost of attendance for students on aid does usually not impact what those students are paying. So the answer to your final question is no. And I hope you can go into your Yale experience assured of at least that as you move through the next 4 years. Excuse me, I hope that was helpful. Will Yale be accepting AP credits for this year? The answer is yes, but I have to cough. So does someone want to quickly just talk about that and final transcript review for this year as well? Deb, do you want to take that one on? No.
I'll take it, sure. So in line with kind of the AP policy as in the past, Yale will recognize AP scores, not for credit per se. AP scores here on campus are generally used to place into the right level of classes. So if you score exceptionally well on a handful of exams, and full disclosure, it's generally a 5 on a very few select number of exams, then you will kind of be appropriately placed into the right level of classes, typically English classes or math classes and so on and so forth. So the results of your AP exams this year and in years past will be recognized. But kind of to zoom out a little bit, I think the current situation as related to the pandemic means that exams like APs, things like the culmination of your classes this semester are going to look very, very different. So our office in no way expects students impacted by the pandemic, i.e. all of you, expects you to take these AP exams if it doesn't seem like something that makes the most sense for you. Similarly, each and every admission cycle, we review final transcripts to make sure that all of our students are continuing to engage in their classes. But we understand that for this year, transcripts will look very, very different. I know a lot of you are now looking at kind of pass-fail grades for your semester. And for some of you, the grading may stay the same, but certain circumstances may have impacted your grades. And we are very understanding of those circumstances. If you feel there's an issue that is particularly significant, it's always a great idea to reach out to your regional admissions officer just to let them know, hey, this is what was going on. But as kind of just a general overview, the situation right now is very, very unprecedented. All of you are wonderfully hardworking students. And so we're going to be really understanding of the realities of the current situation.
Thank you. And I think that's key. The flexibility and the understanding of how we do our work is always central to whole person review. And will be when we look at final transcripts. And honestly, for an academic performance, these last few months, I would not worry about it. We still do want that final transcript, but do your best. And I will put a plug in to just take the AP exams because they're optional, because our credit policy is still the same. It's an opportunity for you to take an online exam for 45 minutes and maybe allow you to accelerate or get some additional credit at Yale. And it won't necessarily be a detriment to your application or your final transcript review in any way at all. Okay, so we're coming to the end, almost at 9 o'clock, and I do want to just recognize that my colleagues are telling me there's lots of questions coming in about the fall still on the chat, and I just want you to know that the university is working hard to reopen. We have a commitment as soon as public health situation dictates to return to campus. I think there's a very, very strong likelihood that there's going to be a fall semester at Yale. We're committed to that. We're planning for all the different contingencies around that. I think that the university is going to communicate those plans as soon as we can. I suspect they'll be in mid-June. And then once we do that, we will be in touch with you as soon as possible. And students can, at that point, sort of reassess their decision to come this fall or next fall. But I do think what we are going to have in store is going to be super exciting. And I think you should all right now plan on being, if you have chosen that, plan on being in New Haven for an incredible academic and personal experience starting in August of this year. And we will be understanding and flexible as we move forward the next few months. If you still have not made up your mind before May 1st, you have till the end of the day Friday to make that decision. I hope tonight has helped. I hope the fabulous answers from Deb and John and Maura have contributed. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And there is one final event tomorrow night, which is the Student Forum, which is a great opportunity to let Yale students have the last word as you make this decision. I wish you all the best of luck. I want to thank you for joining us for the 30 Bulldog Days at Yale. And I want to just end with a sort of final thought on what you should be thinking about as you make this decision, or maybe as you think about next fall and preparing yourself for next fall, which I recognize in the current situation is really hard. But you have gotten through this incredibly competitive college admissions process with some really good news in hand. And I really want you to spend time between now and August preparing yourself for making the most of the Yale experience. So to do that, let me suggest you actually move beyond thinking about next year alone, recognizing that there's lots of questions about what next year will look like, and fast forward a bit to 4 years from now. Imagine that you're attending your college graduation. If it's a Yale graduation, I'll be crying. Your parents are going to be crying. There'll be a lot of emotion. And I want you to think about the idea that where you are headed next year is going to matter infinitely less than what you choose to do once you get there. You all can get good grades. We have seen those great grades. You are all capable of winning awards and making friends and getting leadership positions on teams and organizations. We've seen all that over the past few months. So it's actually my hope that 4 years from now, you're going to have an even broader and more compelling view of what you can accomplish in life. That you will have established deep and important connections with not only your peers, but with faculty and mentors as well. That you will learn to lead by sacrificing your own ambitions for the sake of the common good. By doing what John just mentioned a few minutes ago about the idea that you can be successful not at the detriment of the success of your friends and your classmates. That you will make yourself available to peers as a caring friend, collaborator, and supporter, especially as we get through this global situation together. That you contribute to your classes and your organizations and your jobs as much as you take from them. It's in thinking about these goals, these larger goals, where a Yale education can be truly transformative. The amazing thing that will happen if you choose to join us here at Yale is not that you're going to graduate from a good college with a good education and good prospects for success in the world. When you choose Yale, the extraordinary thing that happens is that you are choosing in a very real sense to change your life. Living and working and succeeding here among the most talented students in the world will permanently transform what you can accomplish and the sort of people that you will aspire to serve, join, and lead. So as you think about where you will be spending the next 4 years, ask yourself this. Are you interested in this experience? In becoming part of the next generation of leaders dedicated to the creation of new knowledge? In shaping the character of an institution that is older than this country at one of its most transformative moments? In joining a group of scholars and students and faculty and staff that are determined to make this world a better place in light of everything that has happened over the past few months? Do you have a global outlook, a leader's purpose, and an understanding that a future is for the bold? If so, please join us here at Yale. Best of luck with the decision. I look forward to seeing many of you on campus next fall. You'll be hearing from us as we make decisions over the next few months about what the university is going to look like. But I think you all should be proud of what you've accomplished and get extremely excited about coming to campus again in a few months. So thank you. Have a good night. Best of luck. And please do not hesitate to ask any questions if you have them before May 1st. Thanks so much. Bye, everyone.